Welcome everyone to an episode of the Ol'Timers comic book show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. Joining me this week, as always on this show, we have the Professor and we have the Third Crusader.
Hey, Johnny.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going well.
Hello.
Baseball's back. The lockout's over.
We're at war, practically. Yeah, great.
Yay.
No.
I try to look at the positive side of things.
All right, yeah. So free agency's just around the corner for the NFL. Get in there.
There we go.
Yeah. All good things. All good things. All right. So we have got a bit of an odd boot of a show for you this time around. This is an idea that was kind of floated by the Professor when I guessed on MPP. So for all you people who think, what the hell's going on? Then that's right. This is his fault. Just saying.
I'll take the blame.
Good man. All right. Okay. So we're having Scrabble letters. And we're not just going with the bog standard dead easy ones. We have put our heads together and we've come up with some stinkers of some letters. All right. Now, before we reveal which book we're going to use for the letter, I'm going to show out the letter and I want as many characters as you can think of beginning with that letter. Are you ready?
Oh, wait. Let me get my Marvel handbook.
Yeah. Really?
Who's who?
Who's who? Yeah. There you go. First one's up, J. 8 points. There you go. Joker. There's one.
Justice.
Jack of Hearts.
Jackdaw.
Oh, Jackdaw. Oh, Jesus.
How about Jocasta?
Oh, Jocasta. I like Jocasta. Yeah.
Judge Dredd.
There we go.
Judge Dredd. How'd I forget? Judge Anderson. Judge Anderson, even. Any more?
There's, I'd probably come up with 100 of them if I wasn't put on the spot, right?
Jester.
Yeah.
Jackal.
Jackal. Oh, your favorite. What was I going to say? Who was I going to think of? Jessica Jones. There you go. Marvel alliteration.
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones. All right, cool. All right, fair shout. That'll get you prepped for the next ones. Everyone's going to start writing the letters down now. So we are going to go with the J, and the J for me would have to be this young lady. This is her first appearance. We're talking about Jessica Drew, the Spider-Woman. This is Marvel Spotlight number 32 from February 1977. On eBay, this will cost you somewhere in the region of £120 to £315. And stateside, you can get it for $250 up to $1,200 for a 9.6.
Wow.
I know, bonkers, right? So this is the first appearance of Spider-Woman, or Arachne, as she's known also in this. Written by Archie Goodwin, art by the Sal. Yes, I'm as good as my brother Ol'Timers. Jim Mooney's in there as well as an art. Letters by Irv. I'm going to say Watanabe, but I'll probably get it wrong. Colors by Janice. I've got Janice Cohen. Is that right on this one? Yes, it is. Okay, there you go. So this book's all over the place. I don't know, but you're a Marvel fan. Do you remember this book?
I do. This is the very definition of a complicated origin story that was just thrown together. And the big thing that they call her Arachne throughout this book, yet it's called Spider-Woman, and they don't call her Spider-Woman at all in this book. So it sounds to me like they used Arachne, and that was supposed to be her name, but then someone in editorial said we can't use that name. That's stupid. And then
I read something else. I read it was a case of they were worried about copyright laws, so they decided to create a Spider-Woman, a She-Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that the She-Hulk one I know is fact. I haven't heard about the Spider-Woman one, but yeah, copyright. especially with at that point the properties were getting farmed out to TV, right? So you had the Incredible Hulk, and that's why they created She-Hulk, so that TV didn't create her.
Yeah.
So that's you're probably dead on there with the Spider Woman, but it sounds like it feels like someone had Arachne in the pocket, or maybe it was done in a drawer somewhere, and they kind of went from there. But I mean, the hood is terrible.
The hood is awful.
Yeah,
the hood, and for anyone who is a relative new timer, yes, that is Nick Fury. None of this Samuel L. Jackson stuff. That is the man. There you go.
Cool. It's a David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury.
Yeah, before David was a Hasselhoff. There you go. So Sal Buscema's art, gorgeous as ever. This story is super complicated. She's a spy. She's been brainwashed as Hydra agent. Then that comes out and she's brainwashed with something else. It's like, oh my God, who could even think about this?
And let's throw the high evolutionary in there just to make things more misunderstandable.
Well, you know what? As much as we don't talk about new comics, I've got to give shout outs for the current Spider-Woman book, who the first 11 issues tried to make sense of this whole thing. I'm not sure they succeeded fantastically, but they tried to add certain things, so that was pretty cool.
I mean, bottom line is, in this book, she's not even human.
No, she's part spider.
She's a spider that high evolutionary evolved into a person, like he did with all the other animals that he did. And if you remember,
he upgraded the spider.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So, and this is on top of the fact that she was built. See what I mean? Two stories.
Right.
I mean,
yep.
I mean, it's hard going. 13th. What did you think of this book?
Well, whenever I pick up any Marvel Spotlight book, the first thing I think of, especially from this time, is that a lot of the characters that are featured in that run were one-offs or intended to be one-offs. So this was something Marvel trotted out there, and pardon the pun, see if it would stick. And then when they realized that the character climbed in popularity,
when they realized that the character had legs.
Correct. Exactly. And it did. And I think that in the late 70s, I think this was a good time for a debut of a lead female character. To your point earlier with She-Hulk and whatnot. Remember too what was going on in the pages of X-Men, or soon to be. So there were a lot of things floating around for Marvel, and it was really a silent war with DC, right? We need to get all these names out there before they do. And who cares what the background is? Just get it out there.
Yep. And Ms. Marvel came out around the same time too.
Correct. So there was definitely an emphasis on that during this time.
But Spider-Woman was the most popular one because she spun off into a She spun off into a cartoon rather quickly, right? Like it's like really early 80s, right?
Yeah, it was definitely an intricate web of characters.
Oh, will you guys just stop? You're killing me.
No, that's Venom.
Oh, is it? All right, okay.
The Venom kills you if you get
so when we talk about Spider-Woman, of course, this is what we normally refer to. Boom! There we go. That's more in keeping with said cartoon show. As you can see, the costume has remained consistent, and for the most part, the costumes remain the same for most of the time. She does get a little bit salacious at points in her history, but I suppose you could argue which female character doesn't every now and again. But hey ho.
It's nice to think that's the only character, the only costume flaw was the missing the hair. That makes it a terrible costume. But when you put the hair in there, it's all right. Oh, cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think she looks great. I mean, admittedly, the the original is awful with the hood. It is just awful. But I think what, Sal Buscema tries his best. I think there's some really good panels. I mean, this panel here where she's about to punch the Hydra goon, spot on. I like that. It's Sal Buscema. Do you think Sal Buscema was Mr. Marvel at the time, Mr. House style?
He was, yeah. I think all of the B level books, you know, and I would throw Hulk in there because he was the Hulk artist for the 80s, in the late 70s, early 80s. But the Defenders, all those like sub books, not like Fantastic Four, Avengers, even though he guest artist on a lot of those books. Any other book that you picked up, you are 50% guaranteed there's a Sal Buscema story in there somewhere.
Marvel Team Up was
Yep.
always, he's always seemed to have,
Yep.
especially the later issues
Yep.
after John Byrne left to do X-Men.
Speaking of letters, Machine, the character Jared in here starts with a J.
Hey,
Scrabble
there
points.
you go. Hey, whew, managed to get rid of that one. Cool. As the first issue goes, this is pure bonkers. It is. I don't. From a point of view, it's like her first appearance. Fine, I get it, but I would be super disappointed if I'd spent $1,200 on this and got this book. I mean, it's hard going, isn't it?
I'm surprised they never really got away from that origin story either. I mean, they retold it. I think Bendis did when Bendis did his Spider-Woman book. I mean, and it was pretty faithful to the original origin story. I would have cleaned it up a little bit, to be honest with you, you know,
Yeah,
and they didn't.
I think it's been cleaned up since massively.
Well, stories that involve the high evolutionary tend to be very complicated,
Yes.
and especially the further down the line you go, with Counter Earth and Warlock.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, and
so
then the Hulk going over to Counter Earth, and
right,
that, you know, the high evolutionary there, and then when he got involved with Thor for a bit with
right,
Galactus, and yeah,
right.
it is high evolutionary is really kind of he should be an X-Men character, as complicated as he is.
Hmm.
You can't, because you've already got an X-Men character by the name of Apocalypse that does exactly the same stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've got
Exactly.
this problem. I mean, I
And we,
remember that high evolutionary spectacular. Was it Spec Spider-Man? I think it was Amazing Spider-Man Annual. Mark Bagley's first issue. I think it was Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21, something along that lines. It was a high evolution that brought Gwen Stacy back again.
is that the Evolutionary War
Yeah, that's the one.
crossover?
I
That's the
wasn't
one.
going to
Infinite
mention it,
Storms.
but
Yeah.
Yeah, well, why not? Why?
yeah,
Why not? Why not mention it?
because I trying to like repress that memory.
Like
The
Norman Osborn's orgasm face.
the storylines that crossed over into the annuals was kind of like a real low point for Marvel as far as
Yeah,
trying to tie in things, and you know,
I,
Atlantis attacks,
I
and
didn't mind some of those issues of Atlantis attacks.
yeah, I actually
All right.
like that.
Yeah, I like some of them.
I didn't. I thought it was just, I don't know, make me buy a book for $2 that I
Oh,
wouldn't have normally bought.
don't get me wrong. I didn't
At
go out
all
my
this.
way to buy the issues I didn't already collect, but you know the books I was buying, like the Spider-Man books and
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, yeah,
It was those were the precursors of the event books of today, right?
Hmm.
yeah,
Now they
but
just spin it off.
yeah. But now, I suppose the difference between that is the event books have caliber casting on them, whereas those
Yeah.
annuals, it was always like a writer and a artist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
D
yeah,
list creators
I'll,
or
I'll I'll tell
tryout
you what.
books.
The when we're talking like D-list or whatever, but as far as the characters that are in this book, Nick Fury was popular. High
Yep.
Evolutionary, you may have known him from the pages of Thor or any other books.
Hmm.
But you have Hydra in here as well. So,
yeah,
the cast of characters that were in this book were actually, fairly well known. And the fact that this was Spider-Woman's debut, yeah, complicated origin and whatever, she still got her own cartoon show. She still got her own run. It
yeah,
was a great run that actually had an ending until
yeah,
Avengers when she was brought
yeah.
back. And since then, I think Marvel has really struggled with trying to find some solid foundation for this character. But she's been around for so long, and we're still debating about what is a real origin, what's retconned, what should we listen to, what shouldn't we listen to. The controversies, the decline in
Mm.
popularity,
Yeah.
and whatnot. I felt like it was a resurrection of sorts for her as far as popularity when she joined New Avengers.
So, see,
Yes.
I'm a little bit older on that one actually. When
Hmm.
she came back in Avengers, that's fine. Her next,
She came back in Wolverine.
yeah,
as
Marvel Comics
yeah.
Presents, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
one of the agents that used to hang out in Madripoor.
Yep.
I thought that was a really good. In fact, you could argue the way she was drawn back then with the jeans and the leather jacket. You could say she's the precursor for Jessica Jones.
Yep.
I think you're right. Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, she was this fallen superhero. She was doing a private detective. She had been in her own book as Spider-Woman. And then she was hanging out in the bar getting drunk all the time. It's Jessica Jones, right? Julie?
Yeah. Sounds,
Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're not wrong. And you know what? You forgot the most important J of all.
Johnny the Machine! Way!
Yeah.
Don't. Oh, there we go. And on that note, we're up for our next letter. Ooh, this is a good one. I'm quite looking forward to this. So let me just stop that a second and get the next letter going, which is, he says, looking for it. There it is. 10 points for Q. So I'm going to go with Q from Star Trek Next Generation. There you go.
Oh, God.
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver.
Quasimodo.
There we go.
The Question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who remembers the little robot from Excalibur, Quizlet?
How about Queen Bee from Titans?
Yeah. The
Any
Quick
more?
Bunny.
Quantum.
Oh, man. Have we had Quicksilver? We've had Quicksilver. I think that pretty much does it not?
Johnny Quick.
Oh, I've got one. Johnny Quick. Quizmaster.
Hey.
Quilt. Crazy Quilt.
Yeah.
That's C. You can't have that. It's C. Wait. This is why we don't play Scrabble. Some of us have different ideas of where the alphabet goes. I was in talking of which, I'll give a quick shout out to this actually. I was in my local one of my local comic book stores, the Dial Night in Darlington, and where would you think he stores Amazing Spider-Man? Is it under A for Amazing, or is it under S for Spider-Man? Where would you store it? Where is it stored in your collection?
It's under A for Amazing Spider-Man.
13th?
I always go alphabetical.
So is that A for Amazing then, right?
Yep.
The dude has it in the S for Spider-Man. I'm like, surely not. Surely it's got to be alphabet. You know, it's just no. Where's his Hulk go? Does it go under H for Hulk or I for Incredible?
I see. Now that's weird because I put it under H for Hulk. You can't go wrong with Iron Man.
Yeah. Where'd you put Uncanny X-Men? Because the book was originally called X-Men, so they got changed to Uncanny X-Men.
Well, now there's two different titles. Uncanny X-Men would go under U for Uncanny. X-Men goes under X for X-Men.
So you would have the first volume of X-Men up to giant size under X for X-Men. Then you'd have to put the Uncanny X-Men under U for Uncanny X-Men, even though it's a continuation of giant size. And then you'd have to put X-Men behind the X-Men from Volume 1.
Uncanny, the 68 issues before that were a regular X-Men and not Uncanny X-Men. Even though I don't think that's correct because it turned into Uncanny X-Men prior to that, right?
Oh, give or take.
Still goes under U.
Okay.
There's more issues of Uncanny X-Men than there like after it switched.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I guess that is the question.
Oh. Oh my God. All right. So none of us have mentioned this is the Professor's Choice. We are all pregnant with anticipation.
Let me mute my mic.
Oh, my eyes. What's going on?
I'm going to mute my mic just to control myself.
So I first of all, I love this book. But second of all, the reason I picked this book was because I didn't want to go with the first issue.
Cool.
But if you remember the old the Demi Moore cover for was it Vogue or something stupid?
Vanity Fair or something.
Vanity Fair. That was that naked pregnant picture, and it was redone and a lot of different stuff, a lot
Yeah.
of different mediums.
She-Hulk's done one, has she?
She-Hulk, yeah, She-Hulk had one done as well,
Cool.
but this just screamed that this is a fun book, didn't it? When you look at the cover.
let's give some shout outs then. So this is Quasar number 29. It's from October 1991. Right, you're sitting down because this is a high price book. You can get it for as much as £2.65.
There you go.
And on Go Collect, they do not have a price listing for it. So there you go.
It's priceless. It's priceless.
Yeah, it's written. Funny enough, people should buy into this book massively. First off, it's written by Mark Grunwald, who I know is a massive, hero for yourself.
Yes.
Professor. It's also got art from a very early Greg Capullo. Now, Greg Capullo, as you should know if you're a comic book fan, left Marvel, joined Image, then ended up replacing Todd McFarlane on Spawn for a number of years. And of course, most recently, with Scott Snyder, has done shed loads of bad stuff and Justice League stuff. So, the dude is like pretty much a heavy hitter. This is a chance to get some of his early stuff, and it's on less than £3.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think you're bonkers if you're a big fan of Capullo, go out and chase this book down or these books down. Inks are by Harry Candelaria. I'm going to go with that's what I'm saying. Anything wrong, I don't care. Letters by Janice Chiang, who, for those who listen to TDC, recognize the name. She's currently lettering the Monkey Prince book for DC, and colors by Paul Beckton. All right, okay, Professor, we'll put you on the spot. You ready?
Yes.
When was his first appearance?
Quasar?
Yeah, there's two.
So Quasar first appeared in Marvel 2-in-1. I don't remember the actual issue, right?
See,
but he was. Am I
That's
wrong?
what I've got. That's what I've got.
What?
When I've got Wendell Vaughn first appeared as Marvel Boy in Captain America 217.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And then Quasar was actually in Incredible Hulk, whether you're sticking with the I's or the H's, number 234.
Yes.
There you go.
So no, you're right. So he did first appear in Captain America as one of these agents of Shield that they put together, and then he quickly spun off into Marvel 2-in-1.
Yeah.
And if you will remember him from the Project Pegasus saga that Mark Grunwald also wrote.
Is this a metaphor for the cover? 2-in-1?
Yes.
Okay.
So
now I get it. Now I get it. Yes.
So we come in mid storyline in this book, and this was this book really was kind of a jam book, and it was everything Mark Grunwald ever wanted to do, but couldn't really do in the pages of Captain America, which was the other book that he was writing. So this is just his he just like idea vomit in this book, and it made it into such a fun book for every little idea. Well, we know Mark Grunwald was like the continuity king, right? Mm-hmm. So everything had to tie in. He had his Squadron Supreme was in this book, and we see Hyperion as one of the main characters in this book. We see Jack of Hearts. We see a lot of B, C, and D list characters in this book.
Q-listed characters. I've got to say, what's going on? This is the third show in a row we're talking about Jack of Hearts.
I know.
It's like and Moondragon.
Moondragon, and she was a big part of this book. But the main, I guess, villain in this book, and this is really a villain, is her, and she is trying to create her offspring, and she wants to have a baby, and except she doesn't really know how it works, so she is trying to, I guess, would you say, impregnate some of these B, C, D list characters: Quasar, Hercules, Wonder Man, Doc Samson, Icarus in the Forgotten One from the Eternals. I mean, some of these characters, Hyperion, some of these characters, you're like, wow, where's Mark just pulling up these characters left and right of these characters that are just seldom used, I guess. But it really comes down to a pro-choice message, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like when you read the book, I was like, okay, so it's kind of a pro-choice type book at the end of the day, when Quasar talks her out of having that baby, so to speak. And and it also comes down to a nice big girl fight between Moondragon and her. And I thought it was, just from cover to cover, even though you're coming in mid storyline, it's kind of really fun. You see these characters that really don't get used that much, but all of them have these cocoons on their back where her kind of threw at them, and now they're and all of them are sitting there going, "Geez, I don't want to have a baby." It is kind of funny, and if you don't get a chuckle out of these 4 pages of Hercules asking someone to smite him,
Yeah, yeah.
and and then of course when finally I think it was is it the Forgotten One that hits him, and
Yeah.
he's like,
I
I've been smitten,
yeah.
and the look on his face. I just thought that this book was funny. It was fun. It's easy to see how much fun Mark Grunwald was having writing this.
Yeah.
It was probably the easiest job he had all month, even with all of these characters. And that actually kind of shows you what kind of a book Quasar was. And Quasar had a nice, I think it was like a 65 issue run or something close to that, where Mark Grunwald pretty much wrote the entire run except for a couple of issues. And this was his guilty pleasure book, and I'm positive of it. In his run, he reintroduced the Squadron Supreme into the Marvel universe. He reintroduced the new universe that he helmed for years. But the failed experiment, if you recall,
Yep.
DP7, Starbrand, all those characters
Yep.
they did appear in Quasar. A lot of cosmic stuff going on in here. His sidekick or mentor would have been Eon, which was one of the big Marvel kind of cosmic beings. I don't want to really call him a hero, but a lot of the stuff, a lot of the stuff that went on in this book was just so much like cosmic drama. And the only other cosmic book at the time was Silver Surfer, which, this would have been there was Guardians of the Galaxy, but they were in the future. They weren't in the present yet. So this was just a really fun book to bring back some characters that you didn't normally see at this point in time in 1991, like Moondragon, the Eternals. You didn't really see a lot of them.
Yeah.
And Squadron Supreme. This was probably 6 or 7 years after Mark wrote Squadron, and this was the first real time other than the graphic novel that he wrote that Squadron Supreme appeared. And I think at that point, I know for me, I was excited to see the Squadron Supreme. So this book for me, I give it 2 thumbs up. And I was a big Greg Capullo fan before anybody knew who he was.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Cool. Excellent. 13th, your thoughts on this book?
Well, congratulations, bud, because you got a lot of Scrabble letters with this book. A lot of points.
Yeah.
And I agree with mostly everything that's been said. You got a band of characters that would not come together unless something like this was happening. And the fact that you have her coming in here just makes it all that more interesting. But with the art, I have mixed opinions. Like in some panels, I think the line work is too thin. In others, I think the ink drowns it.
Yep.
But then in some panels, I think the angles are very good.
Yeah.
And
I think the colors were a little off too.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's because it's a digital version we're looking at, but the book does seem like super bright.
Yes.
Definitely.
There's a panel where Jack of Hearts is Quasar puts like a force field around his hands, where Quasar is looking down at him.
That's early doors, hang on.
And I think that angle was actually pretty good. It's on page 3. Yeah, see on the bottom panel.
Hang on.
Yeah, that's a panel to me that you don't typically see from an artist. Page 3. 1, 2, 3.
What's on page 3? No, that one.
Yeah, bottom. That one.
Yeah, there's that one. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I
All
thought
right,
that
so
angle was pretty interesting. But then to kind of prove my point too, when you have the early interactions with Hyperion and Quasar,
mhm.
the art changes a little bit, and that's what threw me off. It felt like there were multiple artists working on this. So you
Yeah,
see that
so
conversation with them.
yeah, that's a
So
lot
that
of
kind of threw
shading
me
going
off.
on. Yeah, but funny enough, you
Correct.
see that shading a lot in stuff like McFarlane's Spider-Man,
Yep.
which is around the same time. So this is kind of like I suppose, a bit of a Marvel trend. I mean,
Now,
obviously McFarlane uses this massively in Spawn as well.
now my favorite panels came with
Oh,
page 13 and 14.
I wonder which page there is. Panels there. Let's see.
Yeah, so pages 13 through 14. I think that was Capullo's strongest art in this book.
Is that
Pretty
that
much
page?
her going to see Moondragon. Two more before that.
So, oh, see, there you go. Yes, I like the hair.
I thought Moondragon looked sexy in this book, and I
I,
don't normally say that.
I don't normally say that about bald chicks, right? Why is she getting naked? Why is she getting dressed?
I was a fan of it. I don't care.
I think what made this, if you go to the next page, machine,
Yep.
I think what made his art strong, pretty much when you see her like on the ground with the light, like
Mm,
those angles, like it's dark, but then there's light. There's a lot of contrast here,
mm,
and he's changing the emotions on Moondragon. So I felt like that was his strongest
yeah.
artwork in this book.
She's just walked into like the null field there, hasn't she? That
Hmm.
took away her cosmic powers.
Yeah, and then as far as the story is concerned, I'm not gonna knock it. It just read more like an animation than it did a comic book. I felt like I could have easily watched this on TV as a cartoon just because of the amount of humor in it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I don't think that's a knock on the book either, though.
No,
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 it
no.
isn't.
Yeah.
No, I just think that with something animated, it just imagine how something like this would play out. It's considering the powerhouses that are in this book. I
Mm,
think
Mm.
they could have explored that a little bit more. The humor is certainly there. There's also darkness with Moondragon, another character who's had a convoluted past,
mm-hmm.
and then you have her. So obviously a spin-off of Adam Warlock.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you would never ever guess in a million years how you would ever put all these characters together in one story,
Yeah.
but here it is.
It's
We did.
interesting. It's interesting. You're absolutely right. It does read like animation, and it's kind of bonkers, like the Spider Woman book in
Mm,
some respect, because there's so much going on. But I don't know if Mark was aiming to be preachy, but but you mentioned
Yeah.
pro choice. There's also slavery in this that gets mentioned.
Mm.
You know, so it's clear that he's kind of using all these different elements to try and um, gravitas the story a little bit. Otherwise, it's just comedy after comedy after. You know what? This book wouldn't be. This book wouldn't be lost in Marvel's current trend of trying to be funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Marvel around this time when they lost all the artists and stuff tended to then everything was all X this X that. Spider-Man was on that stupid Clone War saga thing that went on longer than it should have done by about 7 years.
Hmm.
So there should be a place for a fun book like this.
Yeah. And this
Nowadays,
book was fun. Yeah.
this would fly off the shelves now. I mean,
Mm.
just the absurdity of the cover itself. With a
Yes.
parody of a parody, it's like, whoa, what's going on? And Moondragon looks great. She looks great, and but I don't understand why she took the clothes off. Glad she did. That's all I'm saying.
Did you enjoy the
she was a
Quasar's?
wiener. That's
Did you
why.
enjoy Quasar's Bon Jovi hair and Wonder Man's mullet? I
Uh,
I was like, oh my god, nothing screams '90s, early '90s like the hairstyles in this book.
do you know what? Do you know what threw me the most? And it's just Quasar's body. He's so like in proportion, perfect.
Yes.
He's not like a big guy. He's not like but everything. It's just it's just I don't know. You can see it's Capullo. You can see the dude's going to be an absolute superstar down the
Yep.
line. And he absolutely totally was. So, hey ho. Right, one book to go. Shall we have an advert? Where shall we go? I tell you what. Let's have a look at this one. There you go.
Hey,
Top Price Podcast.
I'm moonlighting on you, Johnny.
That's fine. As long as you're not moon knighting on me, it'll be all right. Ho, ho, ho. Did you like that 113?
Well, that's what happened to Quasar. He got moon knighted.
All right. Last book. Last letter. More ways than one. Ta-da! The letter Z or Z for our international friends. I am going to go with Zarathos the demon.
I'm gonna go with Zax.
Zargon the sorcerer.
Zatara.
That's
Ha
it's too easy.
I'll go with Zorro.
Zorro. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more?
Um, I'm sure there's more.
How about Zemo?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I like that
Oh well,
one,
no, it's Baron Zemo, so that doesn't count.
yeah. Zeus from Wonder Woman. And probably from Hercules as well at some point.
Well, Zeus is around in Marvel too.
Here's another one, Zod. But now I know you're gonna say General Zod. So
Well, I wasn't going to, but now that you've been all you about it, Zabu.
Yeah,
mhm.
there we go.
Yeah. You can't have Kazar before anyone says it. Sorry, that is definitely a K. All right, and of course, if we're up to Z, it is whose choice is it next? Let me just bring the book up. It is the 13th Crusader's choice. Let me bring the book up, and we are going with. I haven't even got the book open yet. How terrible is that of me? How inconsiderate of me. 2 seconds. You're gonna go what? Why are we going with this book? We're going with Hawkman number 4. So why have we gone Hawkman if it's Z? 13th?
I don't know. That's fine. Because Zatanna makes her debut in this book.
Yes, the fishnets of Zatanna make a first appearance. All right, so I tried to find the list for this for the creators, and unfortunately, I couldn't find who did what story. So I'm going to give all the credits to everybody. 13th, if you know who's who, by all means, set me right. This is Hawkman number 4, or in my notes I've written Hackman, so I better be careful not to say that. That made me look like an idiot. eBay, you can get this at a grade, £300 on a low grade. On Go Collect, for a grade 6, you're talking $1,450. For a 9.6, you are talking $22,000.
Really?
Yeah, crazy. Well,
Magical.
and I know somebody who actually has a copy. So, 13th, why don't you take this away while I sort out some more photos?
Sure. So in Hawkman number 4, Zatanna makes her debut. What I love about this issue, and I'm only talking, there's 2 stories in here, but I'm only going to focus on the first one in here with Zatanna. It's a 13-page story. What
It
a
is.
perfect debut.
Hmm.
So written by Gardner Fox, obviously a legendary writer, perhaps beyond legendary for his influence in the world of DC Comics.
Mhm.
Zatanna is the daughter of Zatara, who made his first appearance in what issue? Let's see if you guys remember this.
Is it an Action Comics?
Okay, which number?
I don't know.
Number one, I think.
Yeah, that is
Is it?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Zatara, her father, has been around for a very, very long time. And to be fair, so has Zatanna. This debut came in the in the 60s in 64. So she's been around for quite a bit. And there's kind of a recurring theme here with characters that debuted so long ago, and the foundation of the character, it wasn't really, maybe there was a basic premise, but her history is certainly convoluted. It wouldn't get better until I would say maybe the 70s
Hmm.
when she joined Justice League, and I'll touch on that in a bit. But in this book, it's a basic it's a basic debut. You know, you have Hawkman in here, Shaira Hall, his wife, and Zatanna somehow uh, learns of some artifacts that are going to get stolen, but uses her power to split herself in two. Didn't quite work out so much, and somehow she was able to find a way to get Hawkman and Hawkgirl involved to help her out. Pretty basic story. The art, I think, for this time was pretty solid, and Murphy Anderson, I think his best panels were obviously the first page with Zatanna,
Hmm.
where you see the Zatanna in the fishnets for the first time, which, by the way, is her dad's costume minus the slacks.
So his dad just wears fishnets.
Correct. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. So if you see Zatara's outfit, he had the slacks, everything up top, the hat, everything else mimics her dad. So this was kind of like a female version of Zatara. But
I thought it was
moving
just
on.
I thought it was just a thing about magicians and the glamorous assistants.
Yeah, well, so
Mm.
couple of my favorite panels in here was a shot that was drawn of Shaira on the second page where they're saying, "Hey, we got to investigate how these artifacts got into our museum."
Let me
I
just check
love the way, yeah, right there in the bottom right.
that
I
one.
think that, yeah, I think piece of that piece stuck out quite a bit for Shaira without
Hmm.
the mask on. And then later on, I still think the art was pretty solid. I think what I appreciated was in this time, background art wasn't you didn't see it too often. And here I
Mm.
think that it stuck out, especially when they take the adventure into China
Yeah,
and even in Ireland. I think when you see the background art, it was pretty strong.
yeah.
So Murphy Anderson's art gets even better with Zatanna towards the tail end, where he's really putting extra detail into Zatanna's face. So I enjoyed that. So it's a basic premise or foundation for Zatanna. Her mission was
Hmm.
to find her father, and that piece of her history had remained with her for quite some time,
Yeah.
always in search of her dad. And then the how she has mystic or magical abilities with reciting spells backwards and whatnot. Just a couple things with Zatanna. I think things took off with her in the Justice League satellite years with Zatanna. I think that's when she was becoming more of a household name,
Hmm.
and I think her and this is more for the new timers, but Identity Crisis really shed a light
Definitely.
on her.
Yeah, that's a
That was
big
in
shout.
the early 2000s,
Yeah, that's a
where
big shout.
this is really kind of where you see Zatanna in a controversial position,
Mm.
where she's a member of the league, and we all know what Doc.
Tegroff. Great cover. Great cover. If
Yeah,
you can get that, it's just a Tegroff color. Great.
so we all know what happens in there. If you read it, Doctor Light um,
There's something unspeakable.
to Sue Dibney,
Yeah.
and this showed the Justice League, and the story was retconned to happen in the satellite years,
Hmm.
where Zatanna was kind of put in the middle, where Hawkman and the Atom wanted
Mm.
Zatanna and Zatanna herself to kind of mind wipe Doctor Light, but Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Green Lantern were against it.
Hmm.
Do you remember who broke the tie?
The Flash.
That's correct. And not only did she
Yes.
and not only did she do that to Doctor Light, but she also does it to
She,
Batman.
yep.
Yep.
So when I read that story, I'm like, this is where you put Zatanna in this position. It was an incredible story, nonetheless tragic. It
Hmm.
made you think, and it also touches on her relationship with Batman through the years.
Hmm.
So although she makes her debut in a Hawkman book, she would eventually grace the pages of Batman, and on with the retconning it went.
Hmm.
So her history, she has stuff in her history. It's just convoluted and it's not really followed through too much. I felt like after Identity Crisis, they did a much better job with Zatanna, and now look at her popularity.
Yeah, it's
You know,
huge.
she even had an actress portrayed her in Smallville. She's in numerous animation. She's a fantastic character, and I'm glad now, after all of these years, she's getting the spotlight she deserves. And of course, her relationship with John Constantine
Hmm.
also brings much attention to that. So
Excellent. Excellent. Well said. Professor, are you a Zatanna fan?
I'm not a huge Zatanna fan. I do want to shout out, thank you for sending me this book along with the ads in it, because I really wanted to have a bowl of Lucky Charms like after
Where's
this.
that advert? Where is that advert? There it is.
I was like, wow, look at that from 1964. That's pretty good. Then there's one later on in the issue with tricks, and then of course Tootsie Rolls. But I thought the ads were one of the best parts of this book. I want to say, and I've said this before, I think DC, especially at this point in time, very formulaic, right? It's they introduce the characters on the next page. They introduce the MacGuffin, the statues, and then they split the heroes up, so each one gets the spotlight. You've got Hawkman in China, Hawkwoman in Ireland. They both come, to the conclusion that we can put Zatanna together, and it's. And they explain the story to you at the end. They go through the whole thing. So, to me, it reminded me of tons of other DC stories that came out around this time, where they break the story down into 3 chapters and they split the teams up, and each one has a piece of the story, and then it's explained to you at the end, and you don't really know what's going on until then. So.
Piece of the action.
Yeah, and so I mean, and I'm not saying it's that it's bad. I just think that it's a lot of this at the time that they were writing to just pump content out, right? So the formula is very visible when you're looking at it.
I think what's interesting too, the cover itself, right? So I do own this book,
I'm
and
going to show you in a moment. Don't worry.
Yep. I would never have pegged it for, hey, that's the first appearance of Zatanna. And what throws you off even more is that the cover tells you the title of the second feature that's in this book. So that kind of threw me off at first, but
where are we at? Boom. There you go. That's your copy.
yep.
Yep.
What do we say? That's a
should we
3?
Should
Is that a 3 or a 4?
Let's have a look. So I hate doing this. There is. Can I make it bigger? I'm not sure. There is some damage on this top. In fact, both staples have got some damage on. There's a little bit of a corner damage there. Some wearing across the top. Some creases. Some damage across the cover corner at the bottom there. We also have a picture inside, so if you give me 2 seconds, I will find that one for you as well. Because
It's a 58-year-old book.
Dude, you don't worry. I think it's a great book. So
Oh yeah, it didn't hit me until I was rereading it for before the show. I'm like, man, this thing's almost 60 years old. Zatanna's almost 60.
She's got great pins for it. All right. So that's a bit better. You can see the damage on the staples there. Some color but
we can't see it, Johnny.
Okay, no. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, you're not sharing it.
Am I not? Oh man! You think I'd be
there we go.
Yeah, I'd be professional at this by now, wouldn't you? Let's see. So you can see across there. There's a little bit of wear and tear on there, and you've got some wear and tear on the bottom there. What I would say is there's that damage on the bottom corner there, but interior looks crisp. The colours look great. There's not a lot of damage on the interior of the book from there. I would be all right giving that a 4. 4 stroke. Yeah, 4. What was it? Did you have it graded 13?
No, I don't do grading.
What was it graded at when you purchased it?
I don't remember.
It's a reader copy.
No, it's better. No, it's better than the reader. It's better than the reader, definitely.
Well, you read it. You read it, right?
Yeah, I read it. Okay. I've got to say that whilst Bud's comments around the formulaic nature of DC Comics of this time aren't exactly wrong, They're not. This was a model for Justice Society. It was a model for Justice League. After that, they've used this model all the time for different books. All the way up to really quite recently, at some points, relatively speaking.
Do you blame Julius Schwartz for that, or is it just DC in general?
I don't blame any one particular. I just think that's just the way they thought the storytelling was going to be, and for a while, it absolutely, totally was the way to go.
Why fix what's not broken?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way of sort of, you've got a team book. If you think about the Justice Society where it started, I suppose for DC, you're not going to have all the characters in one big battle. You've got to do separate bits. And I mean, even the Fantastic Four early doors would do chapters to get the story moving. It's not like a sort of a cop out. Does it feel a bit stoic in today's comic book? Yeah, of course it does. As 13 said, it's this book's only 60 years old. But what I will say, some of the panels, some of the art's gorgeous. This panel here of Hawkman flying.
Yeah.
What a great panel that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The talking there at the top, great panel for a conversation piece. 13's bang on right. The amount of detail that went in the background, bearing in mind this isn't based on any sort of city or anything, it absolutely works really well.
You know what my very, very favorite panel is? When she's in the seance, kind of trying to contact her father.
What, when she's kneeling down?
Yeah, right next to when she's kneeling down, right there. Look at her face.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she sees the images of her father.
Yeah. Hang on. There you go. That one.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying about DC Comics sometimes being a bit behind the curve, but the art in this book's gorgeous.
Does Murphy Anderson here try to do his best Joe Kubert with the shade in the?
I hope not.
So?
No, I don't
Or
think
are
so.
you not a big fan of Joe Kubert?
I like Joe Kubert fine. I just don't think the cover. I don't think it kind of works from that point of view. I think the book is great as it is. Lots of fun in it. So
it was magical.
it was magical. There you go. Cool.
It went to new heights.
Bless.
Cast a spell on me.
Yeah. That's where Hawkman and Hawker come in.
Right, there you go. 3 Scrabble high point characters that you're never going to find discussed anywhere else on a comic book podcast. Not together. There you go.
No.
That's how bonkers we are over here on the Ol'Timers. It's obviously our senility that's obviously impacting us. What can I say? All right, there you go.
We always have fun with it. So
we do. 3 absolute corker books. 3 books that are totally different from each other. A very random link, but it is there anyway. All that's left for me to say, Professor, thank you for hanging out with us today on the Ol'Timers.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. And 13, thank you for sharing more photos of your beloved collection.
Of course.
We haven't asked you how much you paid for it. I'm imagining it's more than 13 cents.
Absolutely.
More than $130.
Absolutely.
And then on that note, we're not going any further. All right. Hopefully it wasn't 13 zeros. But
no, definitely not. But it was all worth it for the 13 pages of Zatanna.
Hey, there you go. The magic number. Mm-hmm. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows, including Professor.
No Prize Podcast, all about Marvel Comics, the MCU, and Disney Plus.
And of course, the Definitive Crusade, started and created by the 13th Crusader, still going strong, talking about everything that is DC Comics. At the time of recording, I'm still not sure if any of the crew other than me have seen the new Batman movie. So if you want a spoiler-free show that's not going to talk about the Batman movie, that's the one to go for. All right, there you go. Right, gents, I'm off to go and check what free agencies up to. Let's see who the Dolphins haven't signed.
See, maybe the Patriots broke the bank again this year, but I doubt it.
I read somewhere that Tom Brady was going to the Niners.
He's not coming out of retirement.
I also read that the Niners have hired Brian Greasy as the quarterback coach.
That is a true story.
Yeah,
I read that all the Giants players are available.
yeah, yeah. I've heard that as well.
It's a
I've
fire
heard that.
sale.
Yeah.
We all missed out on Russell Wilson, so
Well, did you though?
he's more durable than any of the Giants players I know.
I don't know. You missed how many games you missed last season?
For the first time in his career,
Like 3.
yeah,
Didn't come back strong though, did he? So
He came back too early.
yeah.
Okay. I suppose he did play well down the stretch, but then I couldn't believe. I know this is football talk. Sorry about this, but I couldn't believe what they were saying about like the press in Dallas had pretty much ran Amari Cooper out of Dallas. I was like, man, I'm not saying he's a stud receiver, but for a while he was the only receiver they had.
He would be the stud receiver in New England, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite the conundrum in Green Bay as well, with Aaron Rodgers choosing to stay. There's a lot of players there that are owed some money, so it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to fix that. Somebody's going to have to take a pay cut, but I'm willing to bet he's not going to do it.
Aaron Rodgers.
No, they just signed. They just made him the highest paid football player ever. So
yeah, way to eat up the budget.
Yeah, but that part of that will be back contract, won't it? He's not going to.
It's like 168 million of it is guaranteed.
Is it?
Yes, or maybe 130. I don't know. More than half of it's guaranteed, which is crazy.
I mean, how long's the contract for?
I can't remember.
Yeah, well, remember they have a stud receiver with Devontae Adams, and and among others that are going to be owed a good payday.
Yeah,
and that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right, there you go. We should have a show about free agency. It'd be class. All right,
mine's easy. I just did it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. All right, so don't forget to check out UCPN, as I said earlier. So this is Joining the Machine, Hughes. As always, adios.